Good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope we're all doing great today. Hope we're ready for another exciting day in this mess of a market. Let's take a quick look at the economic calendar. We had our FOMC, we had our jobless claims, yada yada. Today, apparently Uncle Powell wants to kick things off before the market and deliver some welcoming remarks somewhere. Then we have industrial production index, yada yada, at 9:15. I doubt there's a big impact from this. And also, we do have a holiday on Monday, and the market will be closed. So, for those that didn't realize, if you show up Monday, you might not find me in the server. We get another 3-day weekend and a short 4-day week, so let's dig into the market. There we go. So, our CPI data brought us back and looked like we were heading higher, and then the overnight session sent us pretty much a whole ATR down. Right? We broke through our previous low, kept on going. I had an old POC here at 36.68. We even tried to hold that a good portion of the morning and push off of it, but then we came back below it and ultimately closed above it. The overnight session came back and tapped it, and now we were pushing off of it back to our key level. So today's pretty easy. We have our key levels. It's likely going to be the range. This is monthly OPEX, right? Can they send us outside of this range and lower, or send us outside of this range and higher? Yeah, absolutely. So we need to be ready for each scenario. That's why every day in prep, we try to go over what can it look like to the upside, what can it look like to the downside, or just staying in the range. So we're going to be dealing with a small gap up. Let's see if SPX wants to fill the gap, retest this key level that we closed above, retest it overnight. Yeah, might go back for another test. We do still have a 4-hour squeeze down right below that as support, as well as this, 1 hour? Yeah, 1 hour squeeze. So, to the downside, we have our morning pre-market low, right with our 30-minute squeeze as we pull up to this key level. So we can roll off of it back to test pre-market low in this 30-minute squeeze. We can even slip through that to tag this key level, this old POC. And if that can't even hold, we've got squeeze bottom and yesterday's low to work with. So all key levels that if you do take a short as we roll over, you'd want to lock profit at each level as we are arriving, right? To the upside, if we can hold this squeeze bottom, that pre-market low, maybe even this trend line, this channel that we're in, and get through this key level, squeeze top and daily Keltner, we can cruise on up to the next key level at 37.41. And outside of that, should we want to do a crazy engulf candle that just gets us right back into the zone that we started the weekend, right? That is monthly OPEX. Anything can happen. We have been in a zone all week. We slipped down to a new zone yesterday. So we could stay in this zone. We could head to the next. Or, for whatever reason, they could take us right back to just be kind of net zero on the week and park us in between these. So, going to be watching upside and downside, just like every day. But we've got our range, pre-market high and low, squeezes. Play this range until the range breaks. If we're running into these squeezes and things first, like there's a pop to try to continue this, I'll likely be getting into some shorts as we hit the top of this channel. Daily Keltner, top of squeezes, key level, yada yada. I'll take some short exposure. Because I doubt, anything can happen, but I doubt we're just going to rip up and then just keep going on this gap up. But again, anything can happen, so I'll be ready. But yeah, play the range until it breaks. If we continue this this slight fade that has started and lose VWAP before open and get down to these squeeze bottoms, I'll be looking to do some longs, either off of these pre-market low squeeze bottom or this 36.68. But if it just tears through it, comes back to retest it, I'll be having shorts, right? So I'll be ready, and you should too. NQ. Same scenario. in a little upward channel and getting out of a wedge. Yeah. So starting to try to make the journey back higher. Already tested squeeze tops, starting a little fade. So let's see where we open. But just like on ES, I'll be looking for longs off the squeeze bottoms. If it gives out, we've still got this daily squeeze and, 2-day squeeze and a 4-hour squeeze. Below, we still have yesterday's low, and we still have that psychological 11,000 as the key levels to watch to the downside. If we can get through the squeeze top, that 350, which was pretty much the cash session high, we can truck up through 400, and it would be, target up here at the daily 8 and Keltner above. But again, that would be engulfing and getting back to where we were, to the zone that we were in to start the week, right? So, scenario upside and downside, and side. Ready. Man, how far we have fallen from that 1900 to 1640. Same thing. Let's see how it deals with this, kind of loose wedge. And the 30-minute squeezes. And that 30-minute squeeze aligns with that 2-day kind of nicely, so that maybe we just get a slight fade and hold and start to go. Or at least catch a bounce off of that, those squeeze bottoms, to still reject and pick up a short, right? So not only are all of these targets where we could be going, but as we arrive at them, you can get bounces if you weren't already in a put, so that you can jump in on the next rejection, right? So to the downside, we've got that the squeeze bottoms, this 650, yesterday's low at 640. And if they really just want to kill it, the third Keltner down at 1616, psychological 1600 below. To the upside, if we can get out of the range, key 1700, which we pretty much rejected cash session. And then it'd be back to the 1734, 1737, where the daily 8 and Keltner is. YM. So YM did get below that psychological 30,000 yesterday. Almost pegged that third Keltner. I mean, let's see. I guess it would have been another 300 points. But, ultimately held these squeeze bottoms that had stacked up. And you can even see midday a 30-minute squeeze formed and is still intact. So I definitely, leave at least the 30-minute up. Sometimes the larger time frame ones, once we're down in them, I'll take them off just so I can see price action. But I'll leave a 30-minute on the chart because when it starts to appear, it can be like the springboard that stops us. So you can see we got down to it and peaked outside it just a second, and then they launched it back up. So on a nice, channel overnight on the way up, just like all the other indices. Whoop. Come on. Just like all the other indices on a nice channel up, watch that trend line from the lows. We'll probably go back to test it, and if it gives out, you're looking at that low, then the next to get down to a squeeze cloud, right? But ultimately on YM today, upside downside, let's see. Should that 29,800 give out the squeeze bottom and yesterday's low, likely going to that Keltner, third Keltner for a full tap. If we can hold pre-market low and the squeeze bottom, or even the next squeeze bottom and head back up above this one, we can get up to the top, back above that 200 that we rejected pre-market there yesterday. And then it would be likely a decent move up to 500. What used to kind of be support before this rollover. Through 500, daily 8, and this 4-hour squeeze top. We did hug the 4-hour squeeze bottom all day yesterday. So, if we were to get back into range, we could absolutely get to this. Just because the market likes to mess with people. Apple. Let's see, basically tried to hold 131, finally gave it out, but the squeeze bottoms held her up. Came back for just an inch above that 131 and then back down to the next level. Oh, I was off by, what is that, 9 cents? Come on. But you can see, tag the next key level, moved right back up, and now we're sitting right back above 131. So, Apple's going to be a great gauge for upside today, folks, with that 131. If we roll over and start to give out 131, the market's probably rolling and testing its pre-market lows and 30-minute squeeze bottom. Should we give out that 131? Probably coming back 130 and that 129.13 or 04. But if we can hold 131, make a quick push to 132.6, that means the market is getting right back to where it sold off from yesterday. Those numbers I called out for each name. Apple's going to be a great gauge every day. If we can get through that 132.6, she might just make the journey back to fill that gap. Not that gaps really matter that most. Not that gaps matter that much on Apple or individual names. But anyway, if she can get through that 132.6, turn it into support. That 4-hour squeeze top above, and the daily 8 will be stepping down to about 136. Oh, I guess if she were to even give out this 4-hour squeeze bottom at 129, 127.30 is next. AMD. Chips really gave it out yesterday. there were a few names. Tesla's another example we'll look at where they just kept selling in a very controlled manner, directionally down. So let's see. Um, so not going to be a huge interest for me today on chips. They're arriving at the second Keltner, but like anything else, if they can hold this pre-market low or overnight, we'll call it at about 82, you can move higher back through 84 and where we sold off yesterday, that 86, 87 zone. Target above 89. The daily 8 will probably catch up to that today. To the downside, back through yesterday's low to 80, and that third Keltner, which is at, what is it, 77 and a half. Amazon. Now, see, this was not so directionally straight down. Just came to the Keltner, caught a bounce, came to the Keltner, caught a bounce. So, you could say slight relative strength in Amazon and e-commerce with shops split coming. Maybe Amazon has a sympathy play, which is hilarious. So, Amazon looking at least a little bit of relative strength, you know, not straight down and slight gap. It held pretty decent and decent gap. So, looks like we have a 1 hour squeeze forming right at that 102 and 106. And outside of that, the 4 hour squeeze. So play the range until it breaks. If it breaks to the upside, we've got 108, 109, 110, and the daily 8 is likely going to be right around 108 today. To the downside, psychological 100, 4 hour squeeze bottom, and what would be a new low of year. Keep an eye on this week's low as well, if everything does roll back. BA, slightly different than everything else. It got back to the mean, held it all day, and still trying to push right through these highs. So, if you want to talk upside, maybe BA just keeps on going. For diamond folks, that is built into today's Beast tool, so you can slap it on those options, and it should work fine for you, as well as the equity. But I'm not gonna spend much time on it. She's relatively strong. Cat, relatively weak in comparison to everything, but look where she landed. If you haven't watched some of the previous preps from this week or last week or a couple of weeks, whatever, shame on you, but definitely we'll just recover. Oh, darn it, that was enough time. I thought it was. This is a very key level on Cat. The last time we arrived, we went straight up to the next key level. So now Cat is down at third Keltner. Last time she was only second Keltner. This time she's at third Keltner and at that level. So we have a very nice opportunity potentially here on Cat if the market is going to chill out and maybe have a little reversion to the mean before heading lower, since so many things are at third Keltner. You can see over here everything's minus 2.5, minus 3, yada yada. So not a bad upside target. This is the spot where you want to go long. Even I know it sucks to think about longs as hard as everything's been sold off lately, but Cat, good spot to go long. Last time it took 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks straight up. So anywhere up to a month out, you could find some interesting plays on these cat calls. Are they cat calls, right? That's cat calls. So anyway, 193. Let's see if it can hold today. Let me get back down to my 30 minute. Let's see if 193 can hold. Doesn't look like we have any squeezes in play really, except for this big old, probably 2-day. Yep. So nice big 2-day squeeze, nice and thick, providing support. When they're wispy and thin, that's when you have to worry that they're gonna fall through and fire. When they're nice and thick like this, with a little bit of red compression, then we are good to go to hold it. So nice spot to go long. Watch this 193 to hold. If it gets a little lower, that daily Keltner, wherever it's going to land. Probably 191 or 190. Yeah, that zone. So should that give out? Looking for that 191 and 190, but this is a big key level. It's an old POC. They've defended it like crazy. So if we go up from here, we've got our Keltner above 198, psychological 200. Last time she got down here, she got above 200, came back and settled at 200, and then took off. So definitely going to be resistance there when we get there. And then the daily 200 is up above with the daily 8 at 207. Let's see, 6 point. It's more like a 2-day journey to get back to these means, but keep an eye out, folks. Decent long here. And, you know, something that's not technology. If you're like, hey, technology's getting beat up lately, well, cat's at a good spot. Google. Same concept here. Google is at a very key level. Even got down to the 2100 we've talked about. And Google has a split in a month. After this OpX, right? We have 1 month left. Until Google splits. So we could see some interesting upside in Google leading into its split over the next month. And we're back at a key level. This 2100 and 2050 were what sent Google back up to 2400. And now we're back at it right before it split. So decent spot to go long. Even though everything's screaming, we're in a bear market. I'm still going to be looking for opportunities like these. So today, looks like we have a little squeeze top that we are getting near at this 2150. Wouldn't be surprised for a dip to this 2121, which means market's probably coming back to test some pre-market lows or 30-minute squeeze bottom. But ultimately looking for this level, this zone to hold if it doesn't squeeze bottom in psychological 2100. Off of this zone, if we can get through 2150, 2165, about where we, sold off yesterday. We have that 4-hour squeeze top at 2190, and the daily 8 will be stepping down, maybe even to 2180. Google can get back to 22 if it wanted to today. GS. Banks have been trying to start looking stronger and stronger. Not a big interest in this from me today. Is this the 4-hour? Yeah, 4 hours getting tight. So, let's see. Yeah, if I had to guess, she's probably just going to be stuck between 290 and 280. Not a big interest, sorry. Moving on. JPM, weaker. GS was looking up and good. JPM's just been going down. It's at third Keltner. It's at the extent of squeezes. So it will likely catch a bounce before heading lower. But yeah, you've got your lows and highs. Play the range till it breaks. To the downside, 110, 108. To the upside, we've got this squeeze at 118. That for that daily 8 is probably going to be stepping down to it. Meta. Again, they're not loving this thing. Relative weakness yesterday. Look for 160 to hold yesterday's low. And if market can make a push, she can potentially get back to 170. And just looking at where she kind of started the, mid-range of the week, it's about that 165, 166. So, Microsoft. Overall, not down hard yesterday. Kind of like Amazon just held a Keltner. Already kind of wicked some of these lows this morning. But running into this hourly squeeze top. So let's see if 248 is resistance, brings it back to test 245, 244. If those can hold and get through 248, we've got 250 and 252 where that squeeze top is, where the daily Keltner and daily 8 are going to be stepping down to. Netflix. I mean, overall, just stayed in a 2-point range. About to be opening near. Excuse me. About to be opening near this resistance. So let's see. Netflix, was pretty darn strong, and then gapped down with everything and just kind of held back at this resistance. It could potentially get through and pop quickly up to the daily 8 again for another test. If it could actually get through that, let's see, it could get to about 85. It could try to make the journey to the 21. It'd be a hair over an ATR. But if she rejects or can't stay above this trend line, or, reaches outside and rejects this little zone at 180 and falls back below trend line, she could fall back to erase the progress of this move and kind of end where she started the week, back at 170. So, trend line might be key, and Netflix might have a strong day to help the market, or just give it up and come back with the market. NVIDIA. Again, chips were a little weak yesterday. Decent gap, though. Kind of back near yesterday's highs. And no real squeezes kind of to speak of here. It's already saying that 1 hour fired up. So we'll see. Maybe something like NVIDIA and Netflix could be strong first and get through yesterday's high just to get up to these squeeze tops and daily 8s and whatnot to chill. So to the downside, yesterday's low and this 2-day squeeze could almost get us down to the third Keltner down. Excuse me for a second. All right, QQQ. Looks like we're pulling up on that second Keltner, although it could even step down and be below us at open, so keep an eye on that. For support. And we have this 30-minute squeeze bottom back at pre-market lows at that 272. So in QQQ, play the range today until it breaks. I'll be watching the 272 put, the 270, and to the upside. I'll probably be watching the 275, even though it'll be, at the money at open. But if we have a dip, you could get a nice dip buy on it. And I'll be watching the 275, 277, or 8. Kind of where we sold off from pre-market yesterday. And that daily 8 and Keltner likely going to be stepping down to like 283. You could watch the 280s as well. It'll be just a little far at open, but might be a decent play if we just take off through the squeeze top. So, Roku. So Roku had some relative strength on FOMC day. It just relaxed yesterday, and there was a pop after hours. There was a news blip that there's a new partnership between Roku and Walmart. If that's news to you, go check out the stock news channel in our server, because we do have some live feeds in there where news blips pop in constantly. So Roku has a little news catalyst and could be a decent play to the upside as well. And she's not too far from the daily 21, the mean. So keep an eye on those 85 calls today. I probably wouldn't go too much further than that, especially since she's back at 80, 81. So, excuse me. Let's see if the pre-market low can hold at 81. I'll be keeping an eye on those 85s today, just to see if she wants to continue after relative strength and now a news catalyst, right? And if I'm going to be trading her, I'm going to be watching a put, so I'll likely be watching those 80s or 78s. But could have an interesting day on Roku with the news catalyst, with Netflix being near that resistance. If it gets through, streamers could push together today. Shop. Let's see, it is the 28th that she splits. So, we don't even have a full week left in a day. So I guess if you add that day, that Monday, to next week, we have about a week left, right? For shop to potential, or before shop splits, right? And for maybe a potential upside move back to the mean. Or back to the 2-day squeeze top. So, let's see if 305, 300 can hold. It's been pretty much holding. If that can hold today, again, we can get back through this 311. She might make a quick move to 320 today, or 330 at the top of that 4-hour squeeze. The daily 8 will likely be stepping down to about 325, where that Keltner was yesterday, maybe, yeah. So, I'll be keeping an eye on shop as well. We have been noticing some interesting things in those call charts in the premium, where they just keep defending our beast levels on those call contracts. And yes, she slipped yesterday with the market, but on pops, she was trying to get going. So, let's see if they want to get some rotation into shop today to kick off the fact that there's only 5 days left after today. And options are cheap today. So, Let's see, SPX. Definitely mark your gaps, folks. Ah, it jumped me. There we go. And if you folks didn't know, you can have your cursor when you drop drawings and whatnot snap to candle high, lows, opens, yada yada. If you don't have that set up, all you have to do is go to settings, this cogwheel right here, and right here, snap drawings to, change that to OHLC, and it's going to make your life so much easier, because when you go to draw trend lines off of lows or highs or whatever, it will snap the, like where you click on a candle, it snaps it to the open, high, low, or close. So, little tip there for the folks that tuned in today. But SPX got down, held my key level at 36.45. We have this gap above 37.25 to 37.90. So let's see, we're going to be dealing with a little gap up, about 34 points, closed at 66. It's pretty much right at 3,700, right? So, well, let's see if yesterday's little high here that we sold off from 36.87 to 3,700 can hold us up. We might come back to fill that gap, which was pretty much around, 666, the mark of the beast. So if that 87 gives out, we are likely coming back to fill that gap, maybe even retest this key level and 3650 before heading higher. If we can get through 3,700 and it becomes support, 3725 is the target where this gap zone sits, and then if we can really get going, maybe fill that gap to 3,800. Anything possible, right? SPY. Oh my squeezes. So, play this range until it breaks, folks. 370 going to be resistance. And it looks like, 367 and a half support right now. So if we can hold, get through 370, 372, and 374 is probably where the daily Keltner is going to step down to. Daily 8 pretty far above. And that 375 does kind of mark like the middle of the week for SPY. So those are the upside targets. To the downside, back to the 366 and yesterday's low, and that third Keltner, which we did tap and hold yesterday on SPY. So official third Keltner hit for SPY. I'm just going to skip Square, get to Tesla. So yeah, Tesla directional day. After a pretty decent move up to 700 this week, right back down, tried to hold that key level. I did try some longs here, because per thesis, when we hit a key level, I'm going to try something. I'm going to take longs when we're coming down to a key level. We got a little bit of a bounce, but once we rejected VWAP and started to give out that level, cut the long, and just switched to shorting SPX. So Tesla got down to about 630. I think it's like those 620s hit our burger bottom and went something like 2 to 10 or 12. So if you're using the beast and you're looking in both directions, there's always opportunity. So let's see if this trend line can hold. Looks like we're going to be testing it as we get into open. So See if 642 and this trend line can hold us and send us back through that key zone. If we can flip it to support, we'd be trucking back to where we sold off from yesterday, 675. If we give out that 40, 42, probably coming back to test 630 to see if it can hold again. If not, if it gives out, we've got those squeeze clouds below and a Keltner right at that key 610. Last but not least, VIX. Key levels, right, folks? VIX shot right up in the morning selling to our key level, 33.5, and then it rejected and rejected and rejected, and then started a fade. So that's when we had the midday kind of pop or push, depending on what you were looking at. Some things just kept going down. Some things got little bounces. And then VIX went back through and turned it into support, that 33.52, in an attempt to get to a 35, but ultimately gave out right before getting to it and came right back down into close and closed below our 33.52. So, hugging this Keltner right at 32 today on VIX. For upside, we have to give out that 32 and make a journey on down to 31 and the daily 8. We're 30. The daily 8 around 30, right? Psychological 30 and the daily 8 would be the target to the downside if the market's going to have upside. If the market's going to slip back and test some of pre-market lows or yesterday's lows, then VIX shall be shooting up to 33.52. And if we're going to even go lower, the overall target would be getting to that 35.3. So, in between key levels, let's see how it deals with this Keltner, if it's going to push off of it in that pre-market low, or if it's going to open, below it and reject it. So hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in chat today. The Beast tools have all been dropped, so definitely go pick those up. If for any reason you can't see the section, the threads under the Beast tools, let me know. We'll make sure to fix that so that everyone gets their daily Beast tool. And remember, you'll want to import it. It will add, here, I'll just give you an example. Well, actually, when you go to import something like here. I'll just share my own watch list with myself. When you open your Beast tool today, it will add a little 1 in parentheses. All you want to do is click right here, thank you, Toss, and go and delete that. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the backspace, right? And hit import. And you'll be good to go. If that Beast tool is already on your charts, it will replace it with today's Beast tool. So that's an easy way to import every day. You just get rid of the bit that it adds on the end. So thanks for tuning in today, folks. We'll see you in chat. Good luck.